Hello and welcome to another free history revision video. And today we're looking at Germany in the 1890s and 1945 course, and we're revising what life was like living in Nazi Germany. And we're also looking at some explanation skills. Right, now in this lesson, we're going to be looking at explaining what life was like for people in Nazi Germany. We're going to look at the idea of explaining how the Nazis affected people's lives, particularly looking at the AQA question, the in what ways question. Now, this is very similar to lots of other questions that are based around the idea of explain why. We're going to be looking to give two explained paragraphs using what we call the Peel technique. Now, you'll need to know your knowledge pretty well for this. So there is a little revision video on life in Nazi Germany that I've made. So have a look at one of the links above and follow that and revise that knowledge carefully. So there'll be a test in a minute, see if you've got the right knowledge to go on with the lesson. If you haven't revised, then go back to my link, have a little read through a few times, maybe go to my Quizlet cards and revise the topic. Then come back here and we'll practice the explanation skills, what life was like in Nazi Germany. So now, over to the quiz. So here is our quiz. Just 6 simple questions, so it seems. But do you know your knowledge? You've got to know your facts if you want top level answers. Marks 5, 6, 7, and 8 in these 8-mark questions, you've got to know a good amount of details to support your arguments and to be able to explain. So let's have a look at a few questions about life in Nazi Germany. So there's only 6. Maybe have a pause and go over the quiz. You could write answers, or you could just pause and have a think. Can you think of the answers? Okay, over to you. Go for it. Right, so hopefully you've had a bit of a pause and you've given it a go. So let's go through some answers then. So firstly, what was the name of the youth group for girls aged 14 to 18? So we've got the League of German Maidens. So there were a number of youth groups. Obviously, there was the Hitler Youth for boys, the older boys, and there's the German Young Boys for the younger boys, and the German Young Girls for the younger girls. So from 10 years onwards, 10 to 14, then 14 to 18, young people are expected to join this. And from about, I think it's 1938, these were compulsory youth groups for children. So what activities might their boys do to prepare them to be soldiers? So for the Hitler Youth, it's about being a soldier, a committed Nazi and a soldier, being indoctrinated and brainwashed in these ideas. So 2 ideas, military marches and the discipline of the march, being able to set up and run a camp, teamwork skills like raft building, rifle skills, knife skills, bravery tests. There's lots of things they could do to be learning to be soldiers. So in school, what did history teach? Well, it taught how to be a Nazi, a committed Nazi, by learning the history of the Nazi party. Also, a committed soldier, somebody who was nationalistic, looking at the glory of battles fought. You could also talk about how it was about how the Treaty of Versailles was unfair and how they should try and overthrow that treaty. But again, that love of Germany, wanting to make Germany great. In school, how can maths indoctrinate and brainwash people? Well, there's obviously the brainwashing towards euthanasia. So the famous question about how much money was saved if they should not pay for the care of disabled people. There's also the famous question from textbooks about the bombing angles, working angles out by trying to bomb a place. So first, question 5, sorry, we're looking at ideas of women and why were women important? Well, the population fell after the First World War to about 1 million lives births, and Hitler wanted it more like 2 million. So encouraging women to have lots of babies. So you might remember, obviously, there's the medals, and there's, as question 6 talks about the marriage loan to try and get women to have more babies. And also, it's very important when they had these babies to bring up as nationalistic and as Nazi young children going to their youth groups and being committed to Nazi ideology. So again, question 6, and how women encouraged to leave work? Well, they had the 1,000 Reichsmark marriage loan, which was repaid in chunks as and when they had children. So, 4 to 6 children, never going to pay that back. So you're being paid to be a mother instead of paid to go to work. So I hope that went well for you. If it did not, have a look back at my revision notes. Now then, let's have a look at that in what ways question with our explanation skills. Hopefully you've got the knowledge now and you know what you could be talking about. So let's apply that and develop our top level grade 9 history skills. Here it is then, our in what ways question. In this case, it is in what ways did the Nazi policies affect the life of children in the years 1933 to 39? Have a think. How would you answer this question? What would be your success criteria? Here's mine. But if you want to have a bit more time to think, have a pause. But firstly, so we've got to think about 2 ways that life of children were affected by the Nazis. We need 2 different paragraphs. We know we need to explain 2 different ideas, either in 2 different paragraphs or one big chunk of information, but we need to explain 2 ideas. So we need to consider how we're going to back up these ideas with examples. So we need to know our knowledge. We need to have some factual ideas and content we can talk about. We need to have lots of knowledge about how it affects people's lives. So we might have talked about our point, maybe we talked about youth groups, we've described, for example, Hitler Youth, League of German Maidens. Then we need to explain how this changed their lives and affected them, what they start to believe in, what they start to do. So we need to talk about their lives being changed. And then finally, make sure we're explaining 2 answers in Peel. So remember, point, evidence, explain. So we've explained how their life's affected. Link not back to the question, link to back to the question and a wider idea. If you want that top level of marks, explain a second way in which your point is affecting children in a slightly different way. Youth groups, maybe we're talking about being committed soldiers, explaining that. Then maybe we're explaining how they're more committed Nazis, or even how they might even dob in their parents to the authorities, or become anti-Semitic, another wider idea. So let's give this a go. So what would this grade 9 paragraph look like? Now, you're welcome to write it first and come back to this. We're going to do 1 paragraph. I'll show you the point and you can go in and try and give that a go if you like. But then the second paragraph, you're definitely going to give that a go yourself. So how are we going to start the first paragraph? So we make our point. One way that Nazis affected life of children is that they changed their school curriculum to indoctrinate them to be Nazis. Okay, so if you want to write this paragraph yourself, give some evidence and explain how Nazis were indoctrinating the children, how it affected their lives, try and give a wider link. You can come back to this video and play it again in a second and mark your answer. But here we are. I'm going to go through an example and then you can try and do the second paragraph yourself if you want to practice some writing. So the evidence for this then, we could say if we wanted then that the children had their lessons changed, all non-Nazi teachers were sacked and they started to study a Nazi curriculum, maybe talking about race science to believe in Nazi policies. So how did this affect their lives? So we're then given the evidence, we've now got to explain this changed their lives because. So this affected lives as in their biology lessons they're taught to think like as Aryans were the greatest race and maybe to hate Jews. This meant that the adults, they were expected to select an Aryan partner to marry and have children with and have racially pure children. So they started to affect children to be a bit more racist and a bit more sort of have strong racial ideas. Okay, so we could now pick another area perhaps for children in their lives that is being changed by their education at school. This one has been racism and Aryanization. So what could be another idea? So furthermore, they were taught to love Hitler. So in German history lessons, they would learn about maybe the history of the Nazis or read Hitler's speeches in their German lessons. This meant that they became committed Nazis and would live their lives as Nazis and learn to love Hitler and be very committed to Hitler. So that's an idea of maybe what I think is a really, really good Peel paragraph. It's got 2 explained ideas, got a good amount of knowledge in there, and it explained really good ideas. So maybe now have a go yourself at a paragraph. This time you could talk about youth groups as your second idea, preparing children for war perhaps. Also, they've got that love of Hitler. Maybe you've got that idea of controlling children and their families in a different way as well. So try and have a go at explaining this one. And again, if there's a few comments out there, people want some feedback of answers, then I can look to give you some feedback and some extra ideas. All right. So I hope you've been successful with that and developing your top level explanation skills. Now, the in what ways question or general explanation questions, it's quite easy to make up your own questions there. So we've got other social groups to think about. We did children then, but what about women or workers or religious ideas, church? Maybe opposition groups, particularly during the war. You could start to think about those and in what ways their lives were affected. So have a good revision, have a good practice, and good luck with that. Look out for more videos on the way. But bye-bye for now.